So I guess Danelle has put out a video about the wrongful convictions day. I haven't seen it. People send them to me when she posts. I can't see anything on her channel if I go to look. But let's hear what she's got to say.
Hi, good morning. It's October 2nd of 2025. I hear a baby in the back. And today is National Exoneration Day or National Wrongful Conviction Day. Not really a holiday. I would say it's more of an awareness day. Since 1989, Texas has had 509 exonerations. That's a ton. Average.
I don't trust AI all the time, but I do trust it some of the times. AI can make mistakes. And I was looking at her word. Up to the end of 2023, they only showed 265 in the National Registry of Exonerations. Okay, so you go by the horse's mouth. Texas is the biggest one, but here's what it says about Texas: 503. It's too many. Texas, they will convict you. It is too many. I give her that. Let's see what's happening here. What she said.
Amount of years lost is a little over 5. I think it's 5.6 is the average number of years lost. Why am I talking about this? Because my sister has been wrongfully convicted. Darlie Routier was convicted in 1997 of the murder of her 2 children, Devon and Damon Routier. It happened June 6, 1996. We've been advocating and fighting for her ever since. Today is the day that we will eventually celebrate with our family, including Darlie, and we are patiently waiting for that to happen. But until then, I want to bring awareness to wrongful convictions because it does happen a lot, way more than you would ever expect. Typically, it is African American males. They are the top, I guess.
And she's right. African American males are in the top of exonerations, but African American males are also at the top of the conviction. You have 50% of the population, committing 13% of the crime as far as statistics go. He doesn't, they say that they're advocating for other people, but they only talk about her sister. They don't bring up any specific cases. So,
Victim of a wrongful conviction, and typically that is a conviction of homicide. Those individuals, it's like anywhere from 5 to 8% of the population at any federal institution is thought to be wrongfully incarcerated. That means that there's 5 to 8% of people that are in prison that did nothing wrong and should not be there. That's really scary. And that can happen to anybody. If it happened to my family, little old me, small town girl, just living a normal life, we did not have any significant high risk factors. We didn't live, in the shadows. Darlie and Darren were self-employed, lived in a nicer subdivision, didn't really have any significant at-risk behaviors.
not really any significant at risk behaviors, except for the gunplay. They're pulling guns on people, the drug use. I don't believe there's any promiscuous behavior. They had a little bit of a risk factor.
Darlie was actually pretty much an angel if you look at any other 26, 27-year-old. The dirt that they found on her was
An angel? I don't know. I'd be pretty pissed off if some angel gave my teenage daughter drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. And I don't think an angel would send her two boys off with the man who molested her when she was a kid. What do you think? What say you?
Was non-existent. Like, basically, it was nothing. The fact that she let a teenage babysitter have a Zima, that was one of the dirt shades that they it was nothing. The fact that she let a teenage babysitter have a Zima, that
Don't forget the testimony about the marijuana and the cigarettes. Don't leave those out. You like to leave things out. It's called minimization and deflection. Giving drugs and alcohol to a minor is a crime.
was one of the dirt shades that they threw on Darlie, I guess. And that they said she was vain, and they said that she was tired of being a mother, but
she kind of said that she was tired of being a mother in a roundabout way in her journal. She wants to be young. She feels like her youth is not there anymore, and everybody expects so much out of her now. And things have been so hard for such a long time.
She only took out 2 of her children, not the third, which was the infant who required the most care.
Drake did require the most care as far as being an infant. That's why she had babysitters from across the street to help her with that care. That's why you have babysitters testifying that while they were helping care for Drake, because Darlie at 26 years old couldn't handle that. I see Danelle raised her kids by herself, and most people did. She's giving them Zima and asking them to help take care of Drake. The reason that she couldn't get to Drake is because he was upstairs. They did have the Roman room with a crib in it. Not the Roman room, but the formal dining room off to the left when you go. They did have a crib in there for him. But he just wasn't in it that night.
So, very strange. Darlie's case is a whole hot mess nightmare. The Innocence Project of New York and Dallas County Conviction Integrity Unit are investigating Darlie's case. And
see, what she fails to tell you is that the CIU under Craig Watkins in 2008, they already looked at her case. And since the Innocence Project is working on it, which they are, reluctantly, the CID is going to oversee that as far as where the evidence is being tested at, stuff like that. The CID, the Criminal Investigations Unit, wants to be sure that their prosecutors have prosecuted the right people. And they want to be sure that if any investigation goes on after the trial, that they oversee it. They have an eye on it. They want to be sure everything's done right. If there was a mistake in procedure made or some kind of new evidence, they'll see it. And they'll say, hey, we might have fucked up. But if it's new evidence that nobody's seen before, then no one has fucked up.
we hope that we have some resolution very soon. But until then, I'm going to make the entire month of October about wrongful convictions.
For you, Danelle, your life should be about wrongful convictions. Like Cyrilda and your mother, and you even went out a couple times to speak in rallies, but you didn't speak. I say network yourself. See if you can find some mainstream media shows to get on. But know that we're watching you. And if you can't put it out the way that it should be put out, based on the evidence of the trial and the LE's findings and the ME's findings, we're going to be right there. We're going to be right there. That's why you have me blocked from everything and you don't talk to me. You don't mention my name. Because if you start mentioning my name, people are going to come look. This Bryan.St.John over there on YouTube, they're going to come look and they're going to see that you're full of shit. So you're very smart. You're calculated in that. I'll give you that.
And exonerations. One that you should look up right now, Robert Robertson out of Smith County, Tyler.
Yes, I agree with her on this one. I just did a video about that. And I've been watching Robert Robertson. She is correct. If they kill him, we've killed an innocent man. I believe that. Honestly.
Tyler, Texas, was also convicted based on faulty medical testimony, and he actually has an he has an execution date for October 16th. Look that one up. There's a petition. Sign it if you feel compelled. There's lots and lots of exonerations that I want to mention, but I don't have a ton of time, and someone's becoming a little impatient. So we'll get back to those. I'll spotlight a couple that I think are really interesting, and let me know what your comments and questions are.
Let's hold her to that. There's a video out there that I even have up on my channel where a young Danelle, so adorable. She's still adorable. But as a teenager, she was just an adorable kid. She's still adorable. But back then, she said, we're here to stand up for the wrongful conviction of Darlie Routier and all the other wrongfully convicted. But they very rarely speak on a wrongful conviction. I think that Danelle would get her point across more if she looked at other cases and studied them in depth and presented, if she felt this person was wrongfully convicted. That, you're going to be a highly publicized advocate for your sister. You got to think about other people too.
Are you affected by a wrongful conviction? Has your family member been exonerated? Do you think compensation is enough? There's $80,000 a year that they get paid in restitution, and then if they're on parole or forced to register as a sex offender due to the wrongful conviction, then they get an additional $25,000.
Well, see, this is where she's not telling the entire truth. If Darlie was to get out because of new evidence, that means there was nothing wrongful done on the prosecution side. It's new evidence. It wasn't presented before. There'd be no payout. The only time that they'll get a payout is if withheld evidence, prosecutor lied, false testimony by there's nothing that Greg Davis and the prosecution team that convicted Darlie Routier did to steer it their way. They spoke it, what they felt, but they didn't take something and go, oh, let's put this here so it steers it our way. They didn't do that. Darlie supporters long claimed that they have done that, but they did not. Or if she's, they'll be happy with her to get out. They could have a video of her doing it, killing those babies. But if somebody's testimony was wrong, or somebody's test was wrong, or some other technicality got her out, they'd be happy about it. They sure would be happy about it. They're not interested in the innocence. They're interested in getting her out. There's a big difference.
A year for that amount of time. And then they also get an annuity every year. But how do you give back 29 years? How do you give back a mother? How do you give back?
How do you give back the lives of a 6 and 7-year-old that are in the ground under a fucking tree because of your sister? How do you give that back? And then to say that they're off in a better place, having a big party. They're having the biggest birthday party ever. No, they're fucking not. They got stab wounds all over them and they missed their parents. If they were killed by an intruder. You think they're in a better place? Just because your world was shattering around you and money wasn't coming in, you couldn't get out, and these kids are just on your fucking nerves and blah, 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 doesn't mean their world was shattering around them. Promises mean the world when you're little, and the world is so big.
Her only remaining child's childhood, like you can't. So there's not enough to be done. There's not enough to say. It is catastrophic for those families. I can tell you firsthand. So, anyways, that's my spiel.
It's catastrophic for families of the justfully convicted. And your first initial, on the other side, his mother. Let me talk about Luke's mother. Her first thing right off the bat is he didn't do shit. He didn't do nothing. And even when I went and showed her, hey, look at this, or hey, we got that, it would be clear that he did do something, and she didn't want to hear it. And his grandmother is the same way. Me and her grandmother got into it. Me and Luke's grandmother got into it. Yeah. And because she refuses to see anything but his innocence, and we know he did it. So it works that way for the other side too.
It is a very important topic that a lot of people just kind of skim over and don't really address, and it is so very interesting. National Registry of Exonerees is.
Does that mean that you're going to be there with Gloria Robles and maybe Stephanie Hopkins out there outside of the execution there? I think it's in Huntsville. When Robert Robertson, they're probably going to kill him. I don't think they should. Are you going to be there?
A really good place to start. Go read their stories, see what you think. Dallas County Conviction Integrity Unit is one of the few in the nation, and we were one of the first. And I'm so proud of Dallas County for recognizing.
You actually were the first. If you go back and look, it had a lot to do with Henry Wade, the prosecutor in Dallas back in the 60s. I believe that it was the very first conviction integrity unit based on some of his prosecutorial conduct in cases. They opened that up because of Henry Wade, who Doug Mulder worked for as a prosecutor. Doug Mulder knew all the ins and outs and all the little tricks and all the little tactics, like getting them to plead the fifth or making fun of James Cron's glasses because he had no evidence to go on.
Recognizing that errors are made and correcting them internally, or at least driving the force to correct them internally. So check it out. Let me know what you think. I want to hear about your comments.
Well, she sure is smart. And there's going to be people saying, look, she's driving while she's doing that, but she's not driving. She's clearly sitting in the car with someone else. I don't even think she's at the wheel. Yeah, there's a baby, so it tells me that she's around her daughter somewhere. I don't know if that's her Bronco they're sitting in. It doesn't look like a Bronco. It could be. Those newer ones are a lot different than the older ones. The older ones are sharp. And the new ones are cool. I saw a blue one the other day. It's like, oh my God, I love those cars. So I'm going to be jealous of Danelle over anything is that she does have one of those new Broncos. I'd like to have one. I'm about this close to being able to afford something like that. But actually, I got an offer today. If I wanted to stop driving SUVs and go for the compact family grocery getter, I got an offer for the new BMW i3, and it's under 20. It's under 25,000 for the new BMW. I mean, look these little cars up. These i3. I don't mean to get in a car thing, but anyways, Danelle, you're doing so much better. You're very intelligent. Slow down before you speak. I do want you to realize your hopes that she is innocent and they prove it and she gets out. I want you to have that. I do. I'm not going to be mad if you get that. I'll be happy for you. But until then, it is what it is. Here we are.
Okay. Have a good day. Love you. Goodbye.
Bye.